morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You're watching World DNA, a show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Jyotsna Kumar.
And I'm Adya Juneja. Well, on the show today, the US president has threatened to bomb Oman if it interferes with Washington's talks with Iran. Now, the warning comes as the US and Oman seek to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, a critical global shipping route that has remained largely closed for months now. But why is Oman in the crosshairs and what could this mean for the talks? Well, we'll get you all about this and more on the show today.
And also on the show, U.S. President Donald Trump's envoy Jared Kushner says progress on disarming Hamas could begin within 30 days, following talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The two sides have agreed that an American general will oversee the handover and decommissioning of Hamas weapons. Netanyahu, meanwhile, has ruled out an Israeli withdrawal or Gaza reconstruction until Hamas is fully disarmed. We'll get you all the details on that and more news on World Day. Let's begin with the headlines.
Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghei says the 60-day negotiation deadline in June's memorandum was irrelevant because the United States violated the agreement within weeks of signing, preventing negotiations from beginning.
No, I don't think they'd behave very well, but we'd handle them very easily, just like we do others.
Donald Trump threatens to bomb Oman if it obstructs U.S. efforts to secure a deal with Iran over the Strait of Hormuz, saying Oman had not behaved well, but that the U.S. had handled them very easily.
Iraq orders an investigation into a drone attack targeting Kurdistan PM Masoud Barzani's office. Iran condemns the incident as suspicious, warning it could undermine relations, while calling for vigilance against hostile plots.
Trump envoy Jared Kushner says progress on Hamas disarmament and Gaza's peace plan could begin within 30 days. Israel and U.S. agree on American general would verify disarmament, while Netanyahu rejects the idea of withdrawal before completion.
You know, he didn't like Biden, he didn't like Obama, he didn't like anybody. But I get along with him very well. Now, what I'm doing is making things safer.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he is making South Korea safer and rejects claims of favoring North Korea, citing his relationship with Kim Jong-un, while ordering the Pentagon to scale back military drills with Seoul.
Russia warns the United Kingdom it would pay a price after reports that British-made drones supplied to Ukraine were used in strikes inside Russia, accusing London of escalating the conflict and becoming an accomplice.
Jharkhand student leader Devendranath Mato ends his hunger strike after Hemant Soren government cancels JSSC CGL exams and government recruitment. Mato welcomes probe into examination irregularities and pledges student cooperation.
Asian markets opened lower on Tuesday, with South Korea bucking the trend. Kospi jumped 2%, led by Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix. Japan's Nikkei fell nearly 1%, while Australia's market was little changed.
FIFA has sacked Chief Operating Officer Kevin Lamore. The 46-year-old has been fired following his criticism of FIFA President Gianni Infantino's aborted World Cup privatization plans.
The U.S. President Donald Trump continues with his threats. This time they are aimed at Oman.
Now, in a phone interview with Fox News, he says he would bomb Oman if it gets in the way of his administration's own talks with Iran.
Now, the American news channel said he made the threat while using an expletive. U.S. and Oman have separately been negotiating with Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Since the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran in February, Iran has largely blocked the waterway.
Well, earlier in the day, Iranian officials said that they were close to finalizing a deal with Oman, while the future of talks with U.S. remains unclear, as a 60-day memorandum of understanding between the two sides is set to have expired. Well, speaking to reporters in the Oval Office on Monday, the U.S. president was asked if he was seeking an extension to the June MOU, to which he replied no.
Iran, however, has a different view. The country's foreign ministry spokesperson said that the deadline was irrelevant because the U.S. had violated their deal early on, while the U.S. president's envoy and son-in-law Jared Kushner said that the U.S. and Iran were having very positive and active conversations. Trump expressed skepticism about the outcome. He told reporters that Iran won't make the deal he thinks is necessary.
Look, we're in there for one reason. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And right now, them building one after what we did previously with the B-2 bombers, going to be a long time behalf. But Iran cannot have, it's very simple, they can't have a nuclear weapon.
Now, West Asia continues to be on the edge. In Iraq, the office of the Prime Minister of the Autonomous Kurdistan region was targeted, along with the home of the head of the region's security and intelligence agency. Well, both were targeted by drones. Iraq's federal government said it would launch an investigation into the attacks, even as regional authorities blamed Iran.
Tehran, however, condemned the attacks, with Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi calling on Iran's Kurdish friends to remain vigilant against false flags. Tensions are rising in the Red Sea as well. In the latest, Houthi rebels have said that they have targeted a Saudi military vessel and 4 accompanying boats as part of their maritime blockade of Saudi Arabia. The Houthis have been at war with Saudi Arabia since it intervened in Yemen's civil war in 2015, but a ceasefire had been placed since 2022. It broke down last month as Yemen was sucked into the wider West Asia war.
Now, the United Nations, meanwhile, has voiced alarm at the rising civilian toll of escalating hostilities in Yemen.
We call on all parties to de-escalate tensions and spare the Yemeni people from further misery. The people of Yemen have already suffered way too much from the devastating legacy of years of conflict, displacement, and humanitarian crisis.
The United States says there could be movement on one of the most difficult parts of its Gaza peace plan within the next month, the disarmament of Hamas.
Now, U.S. President Donald Trump's envoy Jared Kushner has held talks with both Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Hamas representatives as Washington tries to push the ceasefire and peace process forward.
But major disagreement remains over Hamas's weapons, Israel's military presence in Gaza, as well as the territory's future governance. U.S. envoy Jared Kushner says progress towards disarming Hamas could begin within as little as 30 days. Speaking to Fox News in Tel Aviv, Kushner said the process could involve taking weapons out of Gaza and filling in Hamas's extensive network of tunnels. His comments came after a meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem.
Now, the two sides have reportedly agreed on a mechanism for verifying Hamas's disarmament. Under the agreement, an American general would oversee the first stage of the process, with Hamas expected to hand over its weapons for decommissioning. Well, the roadmap says the weapons would be permanently taken out of use. The proposed mechanism is linked to the International Stabilization Force, a planned international unit for Gaza that is led by U.S. Major General Jasper Jeffers.
Now, Israel, however, is making its own position clear. An Israeli official says there will be no Israeli redeployment or reconstruction in Gaza until Hamas is fully disarmed across the territory. Netanyahu has also insisted that Israel must retain its right to defend itself if Hamas attempts to rearm or launches attacks. The issue of disarmament is particularly sensitive because Hamas has previously committed to the U.S.-backed Gaza plan, but questions remain over whether and how the group will surrender its weapons.
Now, Kushner's latest diplomacy comes after a rare direct meeting with Hamas representatives in Egypt. The Hamas delegation, led by its new leader, Khalil al-Hayya, reportedly told Kushner that the group remains committed to the peace plan and wants the United States to put pressure on Netanyahu to move forward.
But Netanyahu himself has been increasingly willing to challenge elements of the American plan. His government is also facing domestic political pressure ahead of elections scheduled for 27th of October. At the same time, hardline voices within Netanyahu's coalition continue to call for tougher military action in Gaza.
Now, the comments come as the humanitarian toll continues to rise. Gaza's health ministry says at least 1,265 Palestinians have been killed since the ceasefire came into effect on 10th of October. The Israeli military has reported 5 deaths among its forces during Gaza operations over the same period. A day after Donald Trump's surprise decision to scale back military drills with South Korea, well, U.S. President has defended the move, saying it will make Seoul safer.
While responding to a question during an interaction with media, Trump also stressed that he has a strong relationship with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, unlike previous U.S. presidents, arguing that his approach is creating a much safer situation for everyone.
No, just the opposite. No, I'm making it much safer. You see, I'm actually making it much safer. Kim Jong-un has always treated me with great respect. And we met on numerous occasions, actually, 2 primary occasions, spoken and spent time. I understand him. He understands me. You're doing war games. I get along with him. You know, he didn't like Biden. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like anybody. But I get along with him very well.
When asked why North Korean leader Kim Jong-un had yet to respond to his request for a conversation, well, Trump pushed back on the premise, asking journalists how they knew Kim had not responded. Well, his remarks appear to hint at a fresh exchange between the 2 leaders. Trump went on to claim that Kim had in fact responded and described conversation as positive.
Why hasn't Kim Jong-un responded to your request to have a conversation?
How do you know he hasn't responded?
Has he?
Yeah, he has.
Did you speak to him? Did you speak to him before you made the announcement yesterday?
Where are you in conversation?
That's very positive.
Trump once again criticized South Korea, claiming that Seoul declined to support the U.S. in the denuclearization of Iran. He said U.S. cannot be expected to protect countries that, in his view, are not contributing to its efforts. Well, Trump also added that South Korea is currently paying $3 billion a year for protection by U.S., and that amount would continue to increase each year.
South Korea has been protected by us for many, many years. And during my first term, they agreed to pay close to $3 billion a year for protection, because we don't, they essentially weren't paying. And I asked them to do that. At my request, I said, not right. They weren't happy about it, but they agreed. I asked for $10 billion, and they were very unhappy. But we agreed for a short term that it would be $3 billion, and next year it would go up, and the next year it would go up, so they start paying for their protection.
Controversy comes as U.S. and South Korea have begun their major annual joint military exercise, Ulchi Freedom Shield, which kicked off on Monday. Well, the 11-day drill is aimed at strengthening allies' readiness and preparing their forces to respond to a potential North Korean attack. Around 18,000 South Korean troops alongside U.S. forces are taking part in this year's exercise.
Now, can Donald Trump run for president again in 2028? The U.S. Constitution says no, at least under the current rules.
But inside Trump's MAGA movement, well, the idea of a third Trump term isn't going away. Well, Steve Bannon said his team is looking at multiple ways to make it happen. Now, Trump himself keeps teasing the possibility, even as he admits the law is a major obstacle. And with Republican support slipping ahead of the midterms, the third term talk could be about more than 2028. It could also be a strategy to energize Trump's base in 2026.
Now, the date is January 20, 2029. Steve Bannon says Donald Trump could still be president, and that would mean a third term in the White House. There's just one major problem, and it is the Constitution. The 22nd Amendment, ratified in 1951, says no person can be elected president more than twice. Trump has already been elected twice.
So under the current Constitution, a third elected term is barred. Well, in a 2025 video that has gained renewed attention online, well, Bannon isn't giving up on the idea.
We're working on 5 or 6 different alternatives that President Trump could run again and be president. And quite frankly, I think 4 or 5 of them are going to work. And I continue to say, as I told Bill Maher, on the afternoon of January 20th of 2029, Donald Trump's going to be president for his third term.
Now, Trump himself has repeatedly floated the idea. At the rescheduled White House Correspondents' Dinner in July, Trump claimed he had won 3 times, including his false claim that he defeated Joe Biden in a rigged election. And then came the tease when reporters recently asked Trump directly whether he was serious about seeking a third term. His answer was considerably more cautious. Listen to this.
Are you serious about seeking a third term?
Everybody asks me that question, and you know that the law is very strong on that. I'd love to run, but the law is very strong. I get asked by even tonight, they're screaming at the event, 2028. Now, everybody wants me to do it, but the law is very strong. No, thank you very much, everybody.
Well, that line may be the reality check. There are legal theories and potential workarounds that Trump allies have reportedly discussed, but they face serious constitutional and legal hurdles. Well, changing the 22nd Amendment itself would require a constitutional amendment, an extraordinarily difficult process.
Now, so why keep talking about 2028? Well, the answer may lie in 2026. Trump's Republican support is showing signs of erosion ahead of the midterm elections. An Economist YouGov poll puts Trump's approval among Republicans at 79%, down 12 points from January 2025. And the drop is even sharper among Republicans outside the MAGA movement. Only 51% of non-MAGA Republicans approve of Trump, while 47% disapprove. Other polls show the same broad direction.
And Trump's political problems aren't just about personality. Well, they're increasingly about pocketbooks. His administration is facing frustration over the economy and over the war with Iran. Gas prices have climbed from around $3 a gallon to more than $4, putting additional pressure on American households.
Republican consumer sentiment also fell sharply in August. That creates a political dilemma for Trump and his allies. The president cannot run for a third elected term under the current constitutional limit, but the idea of Trump 2028 can still keep his supporters focused on him.
Well, for Europe, it has been a summer of soaring temperatures, scorched woodlands and infra buckling under swearing heat. However, the real toll of these heat waves lies in loss of human lives, well over 16,000 of them.
Europe has been grappling with unrelenting heat for the last several days. The continent has recorded at least 10,000 excess deaths, highest since 2003. France alone has reported over 5,700 excess deaths since June, a 36% increase over normal rates, and most deaths being recorded at home.
Now, the heat waves have not only left a trail of death across countries, but also a trail of millions of acres in scorched earth this year. More than 550,000 hectares of land has been devastated in Europe, with Belgium still grappling with a raging wildfire, which has burnt through over 3,000 acres of land near the German border, making the worst wildfire witnessed by the country in over 2 decades.
The fires have been so intense across Europe that they have been recorded even from space. Hundreds of residents have been evacuated from the Greek island of Salamina, while thousands had to be evacuated across Spain as wildfires burned through over 16,000 hectares of land.
The human and environmental cost of the heat waves and wildfires is set to single at least 1% of the bloc's GDP out and result in economic losses in excess of 180 billion euros in 2026. Now, Moody's estimate that the gap between losses and insurance payouts is rising every year. In 2025, the economic losses in output were pegged at 43 billion euros, while only generating 500 million euros in insurance payouts.
Western Europe has already lived through its hottest June and July on record, and with fresh heat wave warnings for large parts of northwestern European countries, and the long summer is far from over. Ferrari's first all-electric car, Luce, has been sold for $40 million at a charity auction in California,
making it the most expensive new car sold at the auction. Now, the sale follows a controversial debut for the Luce, which drew at least criticism over its design from Ferrari enthusiasts, while it will and was unveiled in May 2026. Now, take a look at the next report.
Ferrari's first fully electric car, the Luce, has sold for $40 million at a charity auction during Monterey Car Week in California. The auction was conducted by RM Sotheby's and breaks a previous record of $26 million set in 2025 by a customized Ferrari Daytona SP3. Ferrari has also confirmed that all proceeds from the auction will go to the Ferrari Foundation to support future educational initiatives. Identified as Chassis Zero, it is the first production chassis of the Luce program and was uniquely configured through Ferrari's tailor-made personalization program. The car was created around the theme of light, with a special madreperla semi-gloss exterior finish developed specifically for this car. The interior features Perla Le Mans metallic leather with Grezio Carrara secondary elements. The car also gets dedicated wheels, bespoke brake calipers, and a Ferrari logo set against an optical white background. Luce is Ferrari's first fully electric model and marks a major departure from the company's traditional combustion engine sports cars. The design was developed in collaboration with Love From, the design studio founded by former Apple design chief Johnny Ive, along with Mark Newson. When the Luce was unveiled in May earlier this year, the car's minimalist saloon-like design was heavily criticized by Ferrari fans for moving too far away from the brand's traditional sports car identity. The fact that it was a 5-seat, 4-door electric car also became a point of debate among Ferrari purists. Ferrari, however, has positioned the Luce as a new chapter for the brand and a move towards a new, more technology-focused customer base. Despite the controversial debut, the auction result has given the Luce a place in automotive auction history before customer deliveries begin in 2027. All right, time for a very short break on World DNA. We'll be back with more news and updates from across the world on the other side. We bring you some pictures that have been making headlines from across the world in freeze frame. Take a look.
what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the coolest spa at home.
Robots sparring for a fight, not for entertainment or for sport. Surgical arms that can feel to give surgeons a sense of touch. Traditional warships are facing flotillas of unmanned vessels. The smartwatch is passé, smart bands are just as effective at monitoring health. Put a ring on it this week on Take It Out at these times.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the coolest spa at home.
Robots sparring for a fight, not for entertainment or for sport. Surgical arms that can feel to give surgeons a sense of touch. Traditional warships are facing flotillas of unmanned vessels. The smartwatch is passé, smart bands are just as effective at monitoring health. Put a ring on it this week on Take It Out at these times.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the coolest spa at home.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One, and this is World DNA. I'm Adya Juneja and my colleague Jyotsna Kumar. Let's start with the headlines we're tracking for you at this hour.
Donald Trump cited India's election system and Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar while renewing his push for mandatory voter photo ID in U.S., highlighting India's identification requirements and urging passage of Safe America Act.
Turkey President Tayyip Erdogan urges Donald Trump in a phone call to pursue talks with Iran to de-escalate tensions between the two countries and offers Ankara's support for peace efforts.
Trump envoy Jared Kushner says U.S.-Iran talks are positive and active despite deep mistrust. He says U.S. President would remain patient and seek the right deal, while insisting Iran must not obtain a nuclear weapon.
Russia summons Japan's ambassador after Tokyo condemns President Vladimir Putin's visit to disputed Kuril Islands. Now, Moscow accuses Japan of crossing diplomatic boundaries, escalating tensions over the islands claimed by both the countries.
South Korean President Lee Jae-myung calls for stronger independent defense capabilities while defending joint U.S.-South Korea drills as defensive and stressing they are not intended to threaten North Korea.
Well, Likud members vote in primaries ahead of Israel's October 27 election, with polls predicting major losses for PM Benjamin Netanyahu's party. Now, critics condemns Netanyahu's reserved candidate slots, accusing him of undermining democracy.
Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema wins re-election with 60% of vote. The election faced opposition allegations of intimidation, arrests, violence, and irregularities. Main challenger Brian Mundubile secures nearly 38% of vote.
Australian consumer confidence improved after the Reserve Bank paused interest rate hikes, signalling stronger sentiment among households. Now, the rebound comes as consumers assess easing pressure from borrowing costs and the broader economy.
England made a strong comeback to beat India 4-2 in the Pool D match of the 2026 FIH Men's Hockey World Cup. England now have 2 wins from 2 games and are sitting atop of Pool D, while India have 1 win and a loss from their 2 games.
A big breakthrough for students in Jharkhand. Now, student leader Devendranath Mato has ended his hunger strike and has called off the protest.
And this came after the Jharkhand government announced the cancellation of the JSSE CGL examination. Now, the government also announced the cancellation of all examinations conducted by TDPL.
The student leader Devendranath Mato ended his hunger strike after 16 days. Well, Mato called the state government's decision a huge victory for Jharkhand. Jharkhand ministers Deepika Pandey Singh and Irfan Ansari were present at the time. Mato thanked Chief Minister Hemant Soren, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, ministers and others who supported the students' protest.
On the 16th day of our hunger strike, we have ended our fast in a very dignified manner, thanks to the joint initiative of Jharkhand government, Health Minister Irfan Ansari, Minister Deepika Pandey and our MLA Jairam Mato. The demands for which we are agitating in a constitutional and peaceful manner have been met. Consequently, we are announcing the suspension of our peaceful protest.
Chief Minister Hemant Soren has announced a wider review of government recruitment examinations in Jharkhand. The government says the move is aimed at addressing the concerns raised by students and job aspirants.
The Jharkhand cabinet has decided to cancel examinations conducted since 2014 by private firm TDPL. Now, the Chief Minister said that the cabinet has also decided to cancel JPSC and JSSC CGL examinations. Another key announcement was all exam discrepancies since 2014 will be investigated by CID. The state government has decided to form a committee for reforms under the chairmanship of IAS officer Amitabh Kaushal. Chief Minister Hemant Soren has said that the government will introduce strong legislation in their interest soon.
Celebrations broke out at the students' protest at in Ranchi. The aspirants were seen getting emotional after the state government accepted their demands. The BJP has unveiled its new national team under party president Nitin Nabin.
Well, it has as many as 12 women leaders and 6 leaders from minority communities. Now, according to the party, the new appointments ensure widespread representation with voices included from 23 states and union territories across the country.
Now, in a statement, BJP hailed what it described as balanced appointments and said it empowers the incoming national president's executive team to operate with a profound awareness of the nation's vast geographical landscape and visual nuances.
Well, among the women appointees include former Union Minister Smriti Irani, who has been brought back as General Secretary, former Union Minister D. Purandeswari, former Rajasthan Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje Scindia, and ex-National Commission for Women Chief Rekha Verma are also in the team. Well, they have been appointed as vice presidents.
The party also noted that the group included representation from minority communities in India, 1 Sikh member, 2 Christian members, and 1 member each from the Muslim, Jain, and Parsi communities. Former Aligarh Muslim University Vice Chancellor Professor Tariq Mansoor has been appointed National Vice President. Kunwar Basit Ali has been appointed President of the Minority Morcha.
Well, US President Donald Trump has cited India's voter identification system while renewing his push for the Save America Act.
Now, it is a legislation that seeks stricter voter ID and citizenship requirements in U.S. federal elections. Trump says a conversation involving India's Chief Election Commissioner Ganesh Kumar reinforced his argument for mandatory photo identification in America.
Well, in a post on Truth Social, Trump said India's Chief Election Commissioner Ganesh Kumar had asked his administration how elections could be conducted in the U.S. without a valid photo ID. Now, Trump then highlighted the scale of India's 2024 Lok Sabha election, claiming that around 646 million people voted and that less than 1% voted by mail. Well, he also said every voter in India had a valid photo identity document, a comparison he used to renew his call for Congress to pass the Save America Act.
The legislation, formerly known as the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, seeks to tighten federal election requirements, including proof of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote and stricter identification rules. Trump has repeatedly argued that stronger voter identification requirements are needed to protect the integrity of U.S. elections.
The bill has become a major political issue in Washington, with Republicans backing the measure and Democrats strongly opposing it. Its passage in the Senate remains uncertain, but Trump's latest comments also put India's election system at the center of the American debate over voting rules. India's Chief Election Commissioner Ganesh Kumar has been leading the Election Commission of India since February 2025.
Four days without working toilets, air conditioning, or even a functioning galley aboard a nearly 10,000-ton U.S. Navy destroyer in the sweltering South China Sea. The USS Benfold lost power after an engineering failure last month.
And the incident is raising fresh questions about the strain on America's Navy that is already stretched by operations in West Asia and across the globe.
Now, this is a U.S. Navy warship built for combat. But for 4 days, the USS Benfold couldn't do something much more basic: power its own systems. According to the CNN report that quoted the U.S. 7th Fleet of Arleigh-Burke-class guided missile destroyer suffered an engineering casualty involving its generators on 24th of July, and the consequences were severe.
Well, according to the report, the ship lost the ability to maneuver on its own. Its toilets, air conditioning, galley services and portable water system were also affected. All this in the blistering heat of the South China Sea. Temperatures in the region in late July reached roughly 32 to 37 degrees Celsius.
The Navy says there were no injuries, but keeping hundreds of sailors functioning aboard a perilous warship in tropical heat was clearly a challenge. A fellow warship, the USS Robert Smalls, provided cooked meals. Other ships from the USS George Washington Carrier Strike Group also came to the Penfolds' aid. After 4 days without power, the destroyer was towed to Subic Bay in the Philippines for repairs. The Navy says those repairs were completed on 8th of August and the ship has now returned to duty, and the cause of the failure remains under investigation.
And this isn't an isolated incident. In May, another Arleigh-Burke-class destroyer, the USS Huggins, also lost power and propulsion for several hours in the Indo-Pacific after an electrical system failure. Now, these destroyers are the workhorses of the U.S. surface fleet. Well, there are more than 70 Arleigh-Burke-class ships in service, each carrying roughly 329 to 359 sailors.
But the timing is crucial. The U.S. Navy is already under pressure from its global commitments and the war with Iran. The USS George Washington Carrier Strike Group is heading towards West Asia to relieve the USS Abraham Lincoln, which has reportedly spent more than 200 days without a port call during operations against Iran.
And now more alleged images and videos are circulating online claiming to show overflowing toilets, poor food and declining facilities aboard U.S. warships. Well, the Navy has not confirmed the authenticity of those posts. However, these reports indicate that America's Navy is being asked to operate across more fronts, and every mechanical failure is becoming a reminder of just how heavily stretched the force may be.
An explosion inside a school in western Kabul injured at least 52 people, including several students.
Well, according to sources, the blast occurred around 4:30 p.m. local time on Monday. A grenade was reportedly thrown from an alley opposite the school into the school courtyard after students had been dismissed from their classes.
Eyewitnesses reportedly said that the grenade was in a student's possession when it suddenly exploded in the student's hand. No group has claimed responsibility for the incident so far, and there has been no official statement from the Taliban government. According to the Kabul police, an official investigation has been launched into the blast. Explosion occurred in a densely populated area of western Kabul, which is predominantly home to Afghanistan's Shia Hazara community. Area has repeatedly been targeted by militant groups, particularly Islamic State Khorasan province, the regional affiliate of Islamic State.
But the Chinese yuan is making a new push into Africa, and this time it is not just about trade, from bank payments to debt and even tax collections. Well, African economies are increasingly using China's currency.
Beijing is also building the financial infrastructure to support it. So could the yuan become Africa's most important alternative to dollar? Our next report explores all the details. Take a look.
The Chinese yuan is moving deeper into Africa's financial system as trade between the two sides expand. The China-Africa trade rose by nearly 18% last year, and Beijing has now removed tariffs on imports from 53 African countries. Now that means more African goods can enter China and more businesses can be settled directly in yuan. The big change is happening in the payment plumbing. In November 2025, South Africa's Standard Bank became the first African commercial bank to join China's cross-border interbank payment system known as CIPS. In its first 4 months, the bank processed about $500 million worth of transactions. And in the month of June, China authorized Standard Bank and China's ICBC to operate as the Renminbi Clearing Bank of Africa, covering 19 African countries. Now that infrastructure matters because African companies can potentially pay Chinese suppliers directly in yuan without first converting their local currency into dollars and then back into yuan. That can cut transaction costs, reduce foreign exchange risk and make China-Africa trade more efficient. But the push is also spreading beyond trade. Kenya has converted part of its Chinese railway loans into yuan, helping reduce the cost of servicing that debt. In Zambia, Chinese mining companies have started paying some taxes and royalties in yuan. And Pan-African bank EcoBank is in talks to develop a direct yuan to African currency settlement system by the end of 2026. Well, there is also a much bigger geopolitical story. African countries are looking to reduce their exposure to dollar shortages, high conversion costs and the risks that come with depending on a single global currency. For China, Africa is an important test of whether the yuan can become a serious international currency, but there is a major limit. The yuan is still nowhere close to replacing the dollar globally. The IMF says the US dollar accounted for 57.13% of global official foreign exchange reserves in the first quarter of 2026. The renminbi's share was just 1.99%. And in global SWIFT payments, the yuan's share remains a small fraction of total transactions. So this is not yet a story of the dollar being replaced. It is a story of Africa getting another currency option and China building the banks, payment systems and trade relationships to make that option practical. The big question now is whether the yuan remains a complement to the dollar or eventually becomes Africa's most important alternative to it. Business Bureau, WION, World is One.
Apple will change how app developers ask users for permission to use personal data for targeted advertising.
Well, after Germany's competition authority found that Apple's rules could give its own apps an unfair advantage, well, the changes will affect how consent pop-ups appear on iPhones and iPads and give third-party developers more flexibility in how they ask for user permission.
The case centers on Apple's app tracking transparency framework, which requires apps to ask users for permission before tracking their activity across other apps and websites. Germany's Federal Cartel Office said Apple's own apps were given more favorable consent prompts, while third-party apps face more restrictive options. Under the new commitments, third-party apps will have to use consent pop-ups that are visually or linguistically neutral, meaning users should not be steered towards or away from giving permission. Developers will also have more flexibility to combine Apple's required tracking request with their own data protection consent prompts.
Well, Apple has 4 months to implement the changes, which will remain in place for 7 years under the oversight of an independent trustee. Now, the issue matters to developers because targeted advertising can generate more revenue than broad non-personalized campaigns. Companies such as Meta rely on user data to target advertising more accurately. Well, Apple says the changes will apply in most and almost all of EU countries and that it has already adapted the wording and design of its consent prompt.
The German decision closes an investigation that has lasted several years, but it is not the first European action over Apple's app tracking rules. France has fined Apple about $174 million, while Italy has imposed a fine of about $114 million over the same framework.
Well, we are getting a news alert as of now. A shooting incident has taken place at a school in the southern Philippines. Well, 2 people, including the suspected gunman, are reportedly dead.
The suspected gunman was reportedly a Class 7th student. A regional police spokesperson said that the officers were working to secure the school campus. The city government of Zamboanga has said in a statement that it was closely coordinating with the school management and the city police office and other concerned authorities as well.
Well, this is the this is the news alert that we're getting in at this hour. It is regarding a tragic shooting incident that has taken place at a junior high school campus of Ateneo de Zamboanga University in the southern Philippines, where officials have confirmed that 2 people, both students, including the suspected gunman, are dead. Though the city mayor and university president have assured the public that the situation is now under control. Well, there are no active shooters on the ground, and the regional police forces along the city government are actively coordinating with school management and the department to secure the campus.
India has made a strong start to the Badminton World Championship in New Delhi.
Well, Ayush Shetty stunned world number 1 and defending champion Shiyu Qi of China in a thrilling affair, while former world champion PV Sindhu also marched into the next round with a comfortable straight set win.
The 21-year-old boy from Karnataka announced his arrival at the World Championship in spectacular fashion. World number 22 Ayush pulled off an incredible upset to knock out the world's top-ranked player in 3 games. The Chinese shooter entered the tournament as a reigning world champion, but Ayush sealed a 21-14, 13-21, 21-14 win to complete one of the biggest victories of his career. It was Ayush's first win over Shiyu Qi after 3 successive defeats, including a comprehensive defeat in the final of the Asia Badminton Championship earlier this year.
In the women's singles draw, former champion Sindhu registered a comfortable win over Irish shuttler Sophia Nobel in the opening round. Well, Sindhu, a 5-time championship medalist, did not need to get out of second gear in a 21-7, 21-11 victory over the debutant. Well, the match lasted only 29 minutes as Sindhu dictated proceedings from the get-go. Nobel gave a better account of herself in the second game, but Sindhu proved to be too strong as the Indian won 10 of the last 13 points to wrap up the triumph. Now, Sindhu will face Canadian and world number 49 Weng Yu Zhang in the round of 32. Well, now let's get you the latest updates from the world of entertainment.
Starting with studios in Hollywood that have officially blocked a summer release date for the highly anticipated Ghost Rider movie starring Ryan Gosling. Directed by Sean Levy, the film is scheduled to hit theaters on 28th of July 2028. The supernatural superhero feature is strategically slotted between an upcoming and untitled X-Men reboot and Black Panther 3, rounding out a massive year for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Angelina Jolie is opening up about her new directorial venture, Without Blood. Well, the actor stated that the film is for anyone seeking answers and healing after trauma. Starring Salma Hayek and Damien Bichir, well, the war drama explores universal truths about conflict and memory. However, insiders note that Jolie's discussion of trauma and returning to where we break serves as a subtle reflection of her own grueling healing process following her highly publicized and tumultuous divorce from Brad Pitt.
And actor Ashwin Mishran, who is known for his roles in Lage Raho Munna Bhai and Fashion, was reportedly involved in a serious road accident in Goa. According to police, a vehicle carrying Mishran and his wife collided with a two-wheeler, leaving a father and son severely injured. A case has been registered against Mishran's driver.
Well, that is it in this edition, but don't go anywhere. News and updates will follow on the other side. Keep watching WION World this one.
what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Cola Spa at home.
Robots sparring for a fight, not for entertainment or for sport. Surgical arms that can feel to give surgeons a sense of touch. Traditional warships are facing flotillas of unmanned vessels. The smartwatch is passé, smart bands are just as effective at monitoring health. Put a ring on it this week on Take It Out at these times.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Cola Spa at home.
Robots sparring for a fight, not for entertainment or for sport. Surgical arms that can feel to give surgeons a sense of touch. Traditional warships are facing flotillas of unmanned vessels. The smartwatch is passé, smart bands are just as effective at monitoring health. Put a ring on it this week on Take It Out at these times.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Cola Spa at home.
Welcome back. You're watching WION World is One. This is Speed News. I'm Samiksha Srivastava. Let's begin. President Donald Trump has threatened to bomb Oman if it creates obstacle for his administration's talks with Iran. The latest threats by President Trump came during a phone interview with Fox News. The US and Oman have been negotiating separately with Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Earlier in the day, Iranian officials said that they were very close to finalizing a deal with Oman, and this while the future of talks between the US and Iran is still unclear, as a 60-day memorandum of understanding between the two sides has ended. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson said that the 60-day deadline for talks with the US following the June 17 Memorandum of Understanding has lost its relevance. He has accused Washington of multiple violations of the Memorandum of Understanding, adding that the memorandum envisaged a 60-day period for negotiating on two issues, which are the lifting of sanctions and the nuclear issue, which could have been extended if no agreement was reached upon. Hundreds of vessels with thousands of seafarers were still stranded in the Strait of Hormuz amid high tensions between Iran and the US. Vessels loaded with containers and oil tankers were seen standstill on Monday. The Strait of Hormuz remains a focal point of US-Iran conflict following the collapse
of 60-day ceasefire negotiated in mid-June this year. Israeli President Isaac Herzog met U.S. Special Envoy Jared Kushner and the Board of Peace High Representative Nikolay Mladenov in Jerusalem. Israeli President said that he was grateful for the ongoing efforts of President Trump's Special Envoy in advancing to the next stages in Gaza in accordance with President Trump's plan. Earlier, Jared Kushner held an hours-long meet with the Israeli Prime Minister, that is, days after he rejected the US-backed 15-point roadmap to move the ceasefire deal forward in Gaza. A court in Russia convicted a prominent opposition politician for speaking out against the conflict in Ukraine and sentenced him to 11 years and 1 month in prison in the latest crackdown leading up to next month's parliamentary elections. The verdict against Lev Schlossberg is the latest effort by the Kremlin to stifle dissent since Russia started its military operation in the neighboring country in February of 2022. Schlossberg is deputy chairman of the opposition party Yabloko. Russia's Supreme Court upheld its earlier ruling to remove the Yabloko party from the ballot in next month's election for the State Duma, denying the party's appeal. Yabloko's supporters gathered in front of the court in Moscow, and local media reported that several dozens were detained. Last month, the Central Election Commission had allowed Yabloko on the ballot for the State Duma along with 10 other parties. In fact, in recent years, Yabloko was the only registered opposition party that objected Russia's conflict with Ukraine. The conflict in Sudan has intensified. United Nations has noted that civilians have been killed in the Sudan conflict. United Nations spokesperson told reporters that all parties must protect civilians and the infrastructure, adding that he urges that aid must be allowed to reach people at the earliest and safely without any obstruction. President Donald Trump has again called for stricter voter identification rules in America. This time, Trump has cited India's election system as an example. Trump is pushing for the passage of the Save America Act. The bill seeks stricter citizenship requirements for voting in U.S. elections. In a post on his Truth Social platform, President Trump referred to India's election system, saying that mandatory photo ID for every voter would help curb what he called electoral fraud. Trump even pointed to India's use of postal ballots, saying less than 1% of voters used postal ballots in India's recent general election. In a big breakthrough in Jharkhand student protest, student leader Devendranath Mahato has ended hunger strike and called off the protest after government accepted the demands made by protesting students. Mahato called the state government's decision a huge victory for Jharkhand. Ministers Deepika Pandey Singh and Irfan Ansari were present at the time. Mahato thanked Chief Minister Hemant Soren, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, ministers and others who supported the students' protest. Chief Minister Hemant Soren has announced a wider review of government recruitment examinations in Jharkhand. The Jharkhand cabinet has cancelled examinations conducted since 2014 by private firm PDPI. The Chief Minister said that the cabinet has also decided to cancel JPSC and JSSC CJL examinations. Another key announcement was that all exam discrepancies since 2014 will be investigated by the CID. The state government has decided to form a committee for reforms under the chairmanship of IAS officer Amitabh Kaushal. Chief Minister Hemant Soren has said that the government will introduce strong legislation in their interest soon, adding that the move is aimed at addressing the concerns raised by students and job aspirants. Doctors Without Borders, or MSF, said that a massive scale-up was needed to contain the fastest-spreading Ebola outbreak on record. According to MSF, the Ebola outbreak in eastern Congo has spread so rapidly and so widely that it's outpacing health authorities' ability to respond. Congo's fast-moving Ebola outbreak has now killed more than 2,300 people and become the deadliest outbreak of the disease on record in Central African nation. Belgium is battling one of its largest wildfires despite cooler weather and rains. The blaze in the High Fence Nature Reserve is moving near Germany, which is about 8 kilometers away. The deadly wildfire has burnt around 30 square kilometers or about 12 square miles. Forest officials say that the blaze is dangerous because in areas of peat bog, fires can remain dormant and reignite in other places. The area is also the site of World War II battles, raising fears that unexploded ordnance near the German border could be ignited if the fires are not brought under control. Firefighters from several countries are assisting, but some areas remain inaccessible. Belgium's King Philip interrupted his summer vacation to visit emergency services fighting a massive wildfire burning in the eastern High Fence near the border with Germany as it continues to spread eastwards. The blazes are the latest to scorch parts of Europe as the continent witnesses one of its hottest and driest summers on record. Hurricane Lala weakened to a tropical storm after its eyewall skirted Hawaii without making a landfall. It continued to punish the state with hurricane-force gusts and pounding rainfall, reaching a total of nearly 3 feet in places and sending raging torrents down mountain sides. A search and rescue mission, including civil defense, the National Guard, and a Coast Guard helicopter, was launched after flash floods apparently swept several occupied houses off their foundations in the coastal communities.
Not up to the bridge yet, but it's blowing.
A plume of ash and smoke billowed from Sicily's Mount Etna a day after US tourist died. The tourist was killed by a lightning strike while hiking in an area that was close to visitors due to recent volcanic activity. Authorities have for now closed vast areas of the volcano's slope to hikers due to the volcano's prolonged activity, which forced the closure of the airport in nearby Catania for most of last week. Shifting focus to the world of business, Asian markets traded mixed on Tuesday with South Korea's Kospi jumping more than 1%, while Japan's Nikkei 225 fell about 1%. Australia's S&P ASX 200 rose 0.2%, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index and China's CSI 300 edged lower. Investor sentiment remained fragile as US Iran tensions persisted after ceasefire talks stalled, pushing oil prices higher and raising concerns over inflation. Oil prices extended gains on Tuesday as hopes of permanent ceasefire between the US and Iran continued to fade, raising fresh concerns over global energy supplies. Brent crude rose above $91 a barrel, while US crude climbed close to $85 a barrel. Iran said it would adopt a fully offensive military posture after talks to end the conflict stalled, while Washington ruled out extending a temporary ceasefire. Concerns over disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb, two of the world's most important oil shipping routes, continue to support prices. The US dollar hovered near multi-month lows as weaker economic data reduced expectations of a near-term Federal Reserve rate hike. The euro traded near a 2-month high at $1.15, while the pound remained close to a 3-month peak. Traders now see a 35% chance of Fed rate hike in September, down from 52% a year ago. However, escalating US-Iran tensions and higher oil prices kept investors cautious, with concerns over the Strait of Hormuz pushing global bond yields higher and adding to inflation worries. In news from the world of tech, ByteDance and the Motion Picture Association, or MPA, have signed an agreement to strengthen copyright protections on ByteDance's AI generation models. The deal covers C-Dance for AI-generated video and C-Dream for AI-generated images. The agreement follows a cease and desist letter sent by MPA in the month of February, after Disney and other Hollywood studios raised concerns that the tools could generate copyrighted characters and celebrity likeness without permission. ByteDance says newer versions of the models have stronger intellectual property safeguards. GitHub, the Microsoft-owned developer platform, faced a major outage on 17th of August. Errors began around 9:40 a.m. Local time and continued for several hours that affected web experiences, API requests, pull requests, and webhooks. GitHub also reported issues with the Copilot, its AI-powered coding assist. At one point, around 20% of web and API traffic was returning errors, while archive and raw repository downloads saw error rates at about 50%. GitHub later said that it had identified the problematic component and taken corrective measures. Most services were restored, with the company giving the all clear around 5:15 p.m. Google has announced long-term partnerships with 5 major European football clubs: Arsenal, Barcelona, Munich, Liverpool and Paris Saint-Germain. Under the deals, Google's Gemini AI and Pixel smartphones will become official consumer AI and smartphone partners for all 5 clubs. Gemini will help fans analyze the match tactics, historical head-to-head data and club updates through AI-powered features. Pixel, meanwhile, will work with club media teams to capture pitch-side and match-day content using its cameras and computational photography. Shifting focus to the world of sports, India's wait for a first Hockey World Cup win over England since 1994 is still on, with the men in blue having surrendered a halftime lead to go down 4-2 in Amstelveen. India looked in control of the break, leading 2-1 in their Pool D clash, but England struck 3 times after the interval to complete the turnaround. The result extends India's winless run against England at the World Cup to 32 years. India remains second in Pool D with 3 points. England moved top. India will now turn their attention to arch rivals Pakistan in their final pool match on Wednesday. Indian shuttler Ayush Shetty stunned world number 1 Shi Yuki In the opening round of the Badminton World Championships, 21-year-old pulled off a spectacular performance to dump out the defending champion from China in 3 games with a 12-14, 13-21, 21-14 scoreline. It was Ayush's first win over Shi Yui after 3 successive defeats, including the defeat in the final of the Asia Badminton Championships earlier this year. Former champion PV Sindhu has marched into the second round of the Badminton World Championship with a comfortable win over Ireland's Sophia Noble. Sindhu, a 5-time championship medalist, did not need to get out of second gear in her 21-7, 21-11 victory over the debutant. The match lasted only 29 minutes as Sindhu dictated proceedings from the get-go. Noble gave a better account of herself in the second game, but Sindhu proved to be too strong as the Indian won 10 of the last 13 points to wrap up the triumph. Sindhu will next face Canadian and world number 49 Wen Yu Zhang in round of 32. Studios in Hollywood have officially blocked a summer release date for the highly anticipated Ghost Rider movie starring Ryan Gosling, directed by Sean Levy. The film is scheduled to hit theaters on 28th of July next year. The supernatural superhero feature is strategically of 2028. The movie is strategically slotted between an upcoming untitled X-Men reboot and Black Panther 3, rounding out to a massive year for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Angelina Jolie is opening up about her new directorial venture, Without Blood. The actor stated that the film is for anyone seeking answers and healing after trauma. Starring Salma Hayek and Damien Bichir, the war drama explores universal truths about conflict and memory. However, insiders note that Jolie's discussion about trauma and returning to where we break serves as a subtle reflection of her own grueling healing process following her highly publicized and tumultuous divorce from Brad Pitt. Indian actor Ashwin Mushran, who is known for his roles in Lage Rao Munna Bhai and Fashion, was reportedly involved in a serious road accident in Goa. According to police, a vehicle carrying Mushran and his wife collided with a two-wheeler, leaving a father and son severely injured. A case has been registered against Mushran's driver. Following the recent box office success of Avarapan 2, producer Vishesh Bhatt has confirmed that Jannat 3 is officially in development. The scripting has already started for the third installment of the blockbuster franchise, and Bollywood star Imran Hashmi is heavily involved in the process. The announcement comes 18 years after the release of the original Jannat film. Indian director Zoya Akhtar has confirmed that a sequel to the 2011 cult classic Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara is in the works. Speaking to the Hollywood Reporter, India, Akhtar shared that she and co-writer Reema Kagti are currently working on a script. However, the director emphasized that the movie will only be made if they find the correct story to catch up with Hrithik Roshan, Farhan Akhtar and Abhay Deol's characters after 15 years gap. After a theatrical run in May 2026, the family-friendly fantasy adventure The Great Grand Superhero Aliens Ka Agman is heading to streaming. The film will premiere on Kids on Z5 on 21st of August. Directed by Manish Saini, the movie stars Jackie Shroff as a playful grandfather who pretends to be a superhero to help his grandson fit in a new school, only to be thrust into an adventure that involves aliens. That's all we could wrap in this edition of Speed News. But before we wrap up, here's a look at images drawing our attention from across the globe.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Kohler Spa at home.
Robots sparring for a fight, not for entertainment or for sport. Surgical arms that can feel to give surgeons a sense of touch. Traditional warships are facing flotillas of unmanned vessels. The smartwatch is passé, smart bands are just as effective at monitoring health. Put a ring on it this week on Take It Out at these times.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Kohler Spa at home.
Robots sparring for a fight, not for entertainment or for sport. Surgical arms that can feel to give surgeons a sense of touch. Traditional warships are facing flotillas of unmanned vessels. The smartwatch is passé, smart bands are just as effective at monitoring health. Put a ring on it this week on Take It Out at these times.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Kohler Spa at home.
Once a year, grown men in this city put on three-piece suits, or well, at least a blazer, in 40-degree heat and call it a good idea. This is the distinguished gentleman's rite. It happens on the same day in over 100-odd countries. And it started, of all places, with a photograph. A bloke in Sydney saw visuals of a television character, remember Mad Men, and thought, why don't men dress like that anymore? Men don't gather like that anymore. So he put it online, a few mates, nice clothes, old motorcycles. That was 2012. Today it is one of the largest motorcycle events on earth. And we'll get to this, it isn't really about the motorcycles at all. Motorcycling is about escaping things. It's about getting out there and getting away from the realities of your life and getting some time to yourself. But this is not about escapism. It's more about, in fact, confronting the things that we don't usually talk about. Men's health and mental illness. So, well, we're taking it on the chin and riding on, but we're still talking about it. And I think that's a step in the right direction. So, there you go, folks. Gentlemen for a day, if not longer.
French football turns the page. Zinedine Zidane is the new head coach of Les Bleus. The French Football Federation has officially named Zidane as successor to Didier Deschamps, who steps down after 14 years in charge. For France, this is more than an appointment. It's the return of a national icon. Zidane was the heartbeat of France's 1998 World Cup triumph, scoring twice in the final against Brazil. He went on to win the Ballon d'Or the same year and led Les Bleus to Euro glory in 2000. As a manager, Zidane delivered an unprecedented 3 straight Champions League titles with Real Madrid. Now, the man who gave France its greatest footballing memory takes charge of its future. A national hero is back home, this time in the dugout. French football turns the page. Zinedine Zidane is the new head coach of Les Bleus. The French Football Federation has officially named Zidane as successor to Didier Deschamps, who steps down after 14 years in charge. For France, this is more than an appointment. It's the return of a national icon. Zidane was the heartbeat of France's 1998 World Cup triumph, scoring twice in the final against Brazil. He went on to win the Ballon d'Or the same year and led Les Bleus to Euro glory in 2000. As a manager, Zidane delivered an unprecedented 3 straight Champions League titles with Real Madrid. Now, the man who gave France its greatest footballing...
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION World this one. I'm Jyotsna Kumar. Let's begin with the headlines. Two people, including the suspected shooter, killed in a shooting at a high school in southern Philippines. Officials say the situation is under control with no additional fatalities or injuries reported. Donald Trump cited India's election system and Chief Election Commissioner Ganesh Kumar while renewing his push for mandatory voter photo ID in U.S., highlighting India's identification requirements and urging passage of Save America Act. Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan urges Donald Trump in a phone call to pursue talks with Iran to de-escalate tensions between the two countries and offers Ankara support for peace efforts. Russia summons Japan's ambassador after Tokyo condemns President Vladimir Putin's visit to disputed Kuril Islands. Moscow accuses Japan of crossing diplomatic boundaries, escalating tensions over the islands claimed by both the countries. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung calls for stronger independent defense capabilities while defending joint U.S.-South Korea drills as defensive and stressing they are not intended to threaten North Korea. Pakistan's embassy in Saudi Arabia warns Pakistani Umrah pilgrims and workers against begging during their stay, urging strict compliance with Saudi laws and visa conditions. An AI-generated video highlights potential consequences of violations. Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema wins re-election with 60% of vote. The election faced opposition allegations of intimidation, arrest, violence, and irregularities. Main challenger Brian Mundubile secures nearly 38% of vote. Australian consumer confidence improved after the Reserve Bank paused interest rate hikes, signaling stronger sentiment among households. The rebound comes as consumers assess easing pressure from borrowing costs in the broader economy. FIFA has sacked Chief Operating Officer Kevin Lamour. The 46-year-old has been fired following his criticism of FIFA President Gianni Infantino's aborted World Cup privatization plans. U.S. President Donald Trump continues with his threats. This time, they are aimed at Oman. In a phone interview with Fox News, he says he would bomb Oman if it gets in the way of his administration's own talks with Iran. The American news channel said he made the threat while using an expletive. U.S. and Oman have separately been negotiating with Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz since the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran in February. Iran has largely blocked the waterway. Earlier in the day, Iranian officials said they were close to finalizing a deal with Oman, while the future of talks with the U.S. remains unclear as a 60-day memorandum of understanding between the two sides is said to have expired. Now, speaking to reporters in the Oval Office on Monday, the U.S. president was asked if he was seeking an extension to the June MOU, to which he replied no. Iran, however, has a different view. The country's foreign ministry spokesperson said that the deadline was irrelevant because the U.S. had violated the deal early on. While the U.S. president's envoy and son-in-law Jared Kushner said that the U.S. and Iran were having very positive and active conversations, Trump expressed skepticism about the outcome. He told reporters that Iran won't make the deal he thinks is necessary.
Look, we're in there for one reason. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And right now, them building one after what we did previously with the B-2 bombers, going to be a long time behalf. But Iran cannot have, it's very simple, they can't have a nuclear weapon.
West Asia continues to be on edge. In Iraq, the office of the Prime Minister of the Autonomous Kurdistan region was targeted, along with the home of the head of the region's security and intelligence agency. While both were targeted by drones, Iraq's federal government said it would launch an investigation into the attacks, even as regional authorities blamed Iran. Tehran, however, condemned the attacks, with Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi calling on Iran's Kurdish friends to remain vigilant against false flags. Tensions are rising in the Red Sea as well. In the latest, Houthi rebels have said they have targeted a Saudi military vessel and 4 accompanying boats there as part of their maritime blockade of Saudi Arabia. The Houthis have been at war with Saudi Arabia since it intervened in Yemen's civil war in 2015, but a ceasefire had been in place since 2022. It broke down last month as Yemen was sucked into the wider West Asia war. The United Nations, meanwhile, has voiced alarm at the rising civilian toll of escalating hostilities in Yemen.
We call on all parties to de-escalate tensions and spare the Yemeni people from further misery. The people of Yemen have already suffered way too much from the devastating legacy of years of conflict, displacement, and humanitarian crisis.
All right, in other news, are classified details and secrets about military operations being used to make money even before those operations happened? Because that is now at the center of an investigation in Israel, where an Air Force officer has been arrested on suspicion of using sensitive information to place bets on Polymarket, including wagers tied to Israeli military strikes in Iran and Yemen. Israeli authorities are reportedly investigating whether this latest case is part of a much wider pattern of insider betting involving sensitive military intelligence. The Israeli Air Force's officer reportedly faces a hearing on suspicion of breach of trust and allegedly using sensitive information to gamble. The Polymarket is one of the world's largest prediction markets. Users trade contracts based on the expected outcome of real-world events. With prices reflecting crowdsourced probabilities, the platform has also attracted attention as a forecasting tool, with some experts claiming that prediction markets can outperform traditional polls. The latest case is part of a wider issue in the IDF, reportedly. In May, another Israeli Air Force officer was reportedly charged over alleged bets linked to military operations. Prosecutors said his conduct showed a willingness to sell sensitive information for financial gain, potentially putting the entire force at risk. In February, the Shin Bet, an Israel Defense Ministry investigative unit, and Israel police arrested 2 suspects in a joint operation. Investigators suspected a civilian and an Israeli reservist of using classified information gained during military service to bet on the timing of military operations. Prosecutors said they found incriminating evidence. The investigation followed earlier reports of similar activity. In January, Shin Bet examined suspicions that someone inside Israel's defense establishment had used classified information to bet on Polymarket. Now, the issue is not limited to Israel. In April, the Wall Street Journal reported that the White House warned staff against using insider knowledge to place well-timed bets on prediction markets. And U.S. lawmakers have called for investigations after traders placed major bets on geopolitical events shortly before they happened. In one case, several insignificant bets on a U.S.-Iran ceasefire back in April came from new accounts. Now, shortly before U.S. President Donald Trump announced the ceasefire, raising questions about whether traders had access to information before it became